And I was just like, oh my God, this was amazing. I felt so good after. It was so reviving for me to do that. So when we have fun, we shift our energy and vibration, like I just said. We have fun, we relieve stress. We can have creative insights that sometimes don't happen when we're at our desk. Has that happened to anyone? When you're at your desk, you're trying to figure something out. You're trying to create something, and nothing is coming. And you go and you kind of distract your mind doing something else, and suddenly the ideas flow freely, right? So having fun can help with that. All right. Any reflections about membership? How do you feel about your membership circle? Do you have the type of membership that I've described?
I love my memberships.
Good.
I think it makes work fun.
It does, yeah.
I do.
You do.
Since I'm the boss, I laugh a lot.
Okay. You're setting the tone for that. Yeah, that's great. Work hard, play hard. I love it. Anyone else want to share? Anything?
I also just like what you said about your membership not distracting you, but reminding you that there's more than work, which kind of points to like not just having like tunnel vision, but actually searching or like seeking membership outside
Yes.
of like that one lane, so you can
Yes.
have that different input.
Right. Yeah, it really helps to get different points of view, different types of input. I know when I was living in New York, I had lots of foodie friends, so I was getting a lot of similar input, But now here in DC, I have lots of different types of friends, and it's true, it shapes the way I see the world, the way I move through the world, and even how I am in business, because I'm getting a lot more variety of input. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so we'll move on to the next, one of my favorites, mindset. So when you think of mindset, what does that mean for you?
You say mindset?
Mindset, yeah. What does it mean for you?
The way you think, the way you live.
Yeah, the way you think, the way you live, yeah. Other ideas? Yes, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So the way I see it, your mindset is really the cornerstone and the creator and the attractor of your reality. What'd you say? Oh, nothing. Okay, sorry. I wasn't trying to call you out. I thought you said something. I spend a lot of time with my clients working on mindset around meals and movement and life, because I really believe that you can't make any foundational or lasting shifts in your life around any subject really until you shift your mindset. Your mind has to go first, and then your behaviors can come after that, and then your reality really shifts as well. So the concept of mindset, I don't know if you're familiar with the history, but it was created by a psychologist named Carol Dweck, and she wrote this amazing book called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. If you haven't read it, I really, really recommend it. It's on my recommended list for everyone, entrepreneurial or not. Sure, it's called Mindset. Pretty much if you Google Mindset, it'll come up, but Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And her name is Carol Dweck. It's D-W-E-K. So in case you're not sure about what mindset means exactly, I'll explain it to you. So mindsets are the beliefs you hold about yourself, your most basic qualities, the world, how it works, how you function in it, what you're capable of doing. If you think about your intelligence or your talents, the question is, are those things fixed? Are they carved in stone? Or are they things that can be changed or evolved through experience or education or life experience? So the question is, how do you see your life and yourself? You can also think about how you respond to a certain situation. So imagine, for example, you wake up in the morning, you stub your toe. And then the next thing you're thinking is, oh, my day is going to be horrible. I woke up first thing, I stubbed my toe, life is going to be horrible today. Or do you say, oh man, I stubbed my toe. That hurt. It's okay. I'm going to move on with my day and just see what happens, right? It's not necessarily an indication of the rest of your day, right? So those are examples of two different mindsets. One, Carol Dweck describes as a fixed mindset, meaning what it sounds like, fixed. It kind of stays the same. You don't believe that anything will change, your intelligence, who you are, how you behave. You hear that a lot with people who might say, oh, I'm just lazy. That's a fixed mindset. I'm going to talk more about it in a minute. The great thing is, even if you find yourself having some fixed mindsets about different things, the really good news is you can always shift your mindset. I know it's funny to think about if you are in a fixed mindset, you're thinking you can't shift it. But the good news is you actually can. And it's great because I like to say there's almost a gravitational pull of an energy of your mindset, because your mindset really does set the stage for how you perceive the world and yourself in it, and also what you attract to yourself and what you repel from yourself as well. So your mindset is key for that. So there's several reasons why I think shifting your mindset is so, so important. One of them is this idea of fulfillment. If you shift your mindset from one of fixed to one of growth, there are endless opportunities for fulfillment. Because everything is an opportunity for change, everything is an opportunity for learning, everything is just good, really. There's nothing like failure. There's no failure, there's redirection. Or there's, I just discovered how not to do that. There's nothing negative or bad about it. So you can feel a lot more fulfilled in all of the actions that you take every day. The second is resilience. When you have a growth mindset about your business or your life or yourself, when anything challenging or negative happens in your life, it's so much easier for you to just bounce back. You don't end up going down this sort of spiral of negativity and frustration and giving up, because you just see it as, all right, that didn't work. I better figure out something that does work. And the third is inspiration. And I have to tell you, this one is the one that's probably the most difficult for me. And by inspiration, I mean, if you have a growth mindset, when you see other people in your industry doing things that you wish you were doing, it doesn't become about competition. So many of us get stuck there, right? How did she get that and I didn't? That's what I wanted to do and that ain't fair or whatever, right? But if you look at that from a growth mindset, that just becomes inspiration. Because then what you can say is, wow, look what they did. This is what's possible. Maybe even more is possible once I do whatever I'm here to do. Maybe it's even bigger and better and more badass than what that person did. Not that we're comparing, because we're in a growth mindset, right? Any thoughts or reflections about that? Do any of those?
The first two.
Fulfillment and resilience. And the last one I just said, inspiration. See, I was checking to see if y'all were listening. So any reflections about those? Which feel most easy, most difficult for you? They're like, I got all of them. I got a growth mindset. That's why I'm here. I'm growing.
I would say, well, in the industry that I'm in, a lot inspires me, and I have met a lot of people who I no longer consider my friends, because instead of them being inspired, they feel the need to either be jealous or feel some type of way, instead of just learning and trying to figure out how to get to where either I am or how to grow, because we can always help each other.
Right.
But one thing I've noticed just in the industry period is somebody's always trying to be better than you instead of helping each other be better together.
Yes.
So in my field, that's something that I definitely see every day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people experience that across a variety of fields. Yes, thank you for sharing. Any other shares?
I'm going to say I also have challenges in regards to inspiration, because my field is fashion, and sometimes it's difficult when it comes to trying to be yourself in your art craft, and also trying to make sure that you're able to understand everybody else, because everyone else has their own style. So how can you be able to please yourself when your mission is to please yourself and also please others?
Yes.
So,
yes.
There's a lot of different kinds of inspiration that can be kind of hard.
Yeah, I think we can all probably resonate with that, no matter the industry, because I feel like this part of the struggle in entrepreneurship is really trying to find your voice, stay true to your voice, share your voice. And the fear is, well, if I really show up as who I am, are people going to like that? And the shift that I had to make was, well, if they don't, they're not my ideal client. Meh. So if I like to talk about woo-woo and energy and mindfulness and If that's not your cup of tea, well, please go find the next person doing something similar.
And to add to that, normally when that happens, it just makes room, it leaves room for those who can relate to your energy.
Yes.
To even, like, it attracts those who relate to your energy.
Yes.
And it just pushes all the bad negativity
Yes.
out of your way.
Yes.
So it really just makes room for what is
The
meant to
right,
happen.
yeah, I agree. I agree. You nailed it exactly on the head as part of, why is mindset so important? Because once we shift our mindset, we make space for those who are going to resonate, those experiences that are going to resonate with where we are. It seemed like you were going to say something. No, you weren't. Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right, so what I want to do now is actually go through a couple of common mindsets that I hear in my work and I think that we experience in general just as humans and as entrepreneurs, and help you shift those from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And before I do that, I just want to share my number one key for how to shift your mindset from a fixed to a growth. It's actually really simple and profound, but also sometimes more difficult than we may think. And that is really simply through our words. Our words are the language of our mind, which makes sense, right? It's also the language of our mindset. And we speak what we believe, and through our beliefs, we create our reality. So just by changing the words that we use to talk about our work, ourselves, what we want out of life, how we feel about food, about movement, we can change our mindsets and our lives completely. So let's try this. Let's try, I don't know anything about XYZ. I put, I don't know anything about social media here. So a lot of entrepreneurs say that. At least I hear them saying, I don't know what to do with this Instagram and Snapchat or whatever it is. So I just don't know anything about it. So if you were going to shift that phrase, which is a very fixed phrase, it doesn't allow us any room for growth, right? Because it's just saying, this is how it is. I don't know anything about it. How might we shift into a growth mindset sentence? Oh, yes.
Maybe I could learn more about social media.
Yeah, maybe I could learn more about social media. I like that one. Any other ideas? One more?
Do some research on social media.
I love it. She's like, I've got a bunch. So here's what I put. I'm learning more about how to use social media every day. So when you find yourself saying, I don't know XYZ, I always encourage my son to say, I don't know yet. Or I'm going to try and find out, right? And we often are saying to ourselves, I don't know. Because part of what it is to be an entrepreneur is to not know, right? A lot of us who are entrepreneurs are trailblazing. We're creating something new and different that hasn't existed. So there's so many things that we don't know. Maybe not even just us. Maybe the industry in general doesn't know the answer to what we need to do what we want. But if we shift our mindset about that, change our language, we can completely change that experience. Like, how can I figure this out? What do I need to make this work? As opposed to, I don't know. Well, here's one I love as someone who works in food, right? I don't have time to cook. Now, the I don't have time, I want to start with I don't have time, okay? I don't care what you put on the end of it. I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to cook. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to whatever it is. This is a mindset I really want you to shift. We always have time. We make time for the things that matter to us. When there's that sale on that fabulous, I don't know any fashion names, but Chanel or whatever, down the street, you're going to find time to get there. Okay, you're going to move your schedule around because that dress is important to you. If your kid has a recital, you're going to move stuff around. You're going to find time to get there, right? So when it's important to you, you can absolutely make time. The thing to shift is the idea that A, you have control over your time. B, how important is it to you? So the goal really is to say, is movement important to me? Are meals important to me? Is mindset important to me? Of course, the answer is, girl, what? Oh, no, one more time. Of course, the answer is, yes. All right, so I'm going to shift that sentence, I don't have time to cook meals at home, to the amount of time I have to prepare meals at home is limited. So I look for time-saving tips and quick recipes that fit within my schedule. Drop the mic right there. Right, okay. So the next one I want to do, this is a very common one. I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. So a lot of us wouldn't come out and say that. We won't wear that on our sleeve. We don't say, you know, I just don't feel worthy of that healthy meal. We don't say those things, right? But when we really go deep down to the core of some of the reasons why we choose not to do things that are good for ourselves, it's because we feel that way. You know, how can I take time away from my business to go do this? I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to leave my kid for a couple of hours while I go have a drink. I mean, that's just, I don't deserve it. Or, you know, whatever it is. But the reality is we do deserve it. We are worthy, all of us, of self-care, of mindful eating, of moving our bodies, of meditating, of shifting our mindset to a space of positivity so that we can feel good in our body and in our life and in our business. We all deserve that. We're all worthy of it. So we have to shift that around. So we can shift that to, I am deserving and worthy of all the blessings that come my way. And I deserve to and am worthy of the self-care practices that keep me healthy, clear-headed, and strong in life and business. Of course, you can shorten that up to just, I am worthy, I am worthy. You know, when you're in a bind and you can't remember all that, that's fine, that will work too. Okay, here's another good one. I feel guilty. Who said that? All y'all's hands should be up because everybody feels guilty at some point, right? I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that. Because guilt is one of the most debilitating of emotions. It really paralyzes us. It doesn't allow us to grow and to change and to shift because the guilt just kind of weighs on you, you know? What I encourage everyone to do is just leave guilt at the door, close it, lock it, run away. Just leave it at the door. And there's a couple of ways that you can do that. The first is you can choose to just enjoy whatever it is that you're doing that you're feeling guilty about. I feel like, oh man, I feel so guilty because I'm away from my kids. Oh, I feel so guilty because I'm not working right now. Whatever it is you're doing that's making you feel guilty, you're not even having fun. And we talked about having fun, right? So, you know, enjoy the heck out of it. Just let go of the guilt. The second choice you have is do something different. If you feel guilty and you can't have fun, then just do the other thing that's going to make you feel better. Make that choice, shift your behavior, guilt is gone. But whatever you do, don't marinate. Ooh, that was a good food word. Don't marinate in that guilt. Who's for that? Sweet. What's that? Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a good one too. I have failed. Which I think is also a very fixed mindset, right? I think we have a lot of negative connotation around failure. And really, I like to think of it as redirection. I like to think that I have never failed. You know, I've been redirected. I remember my son was trying to build a Lego thing, and he had been working on it for a while. And he's like, I've tried it so many ways, and I just can't do it, and I just can't do it. And I said, well, you found 3 different ways it doesn't work. Maybe the 4th one will work. You know, he looked at me like, you know, he's still learning, right? We're all still learning. But yeah, forget about failure. I always say failure is fake news, regardless of your views about fake news. All right, so, just one more I want to do right now, which is I hate exercise. Who feels like that? Nobody feels like that? You do. Yeah, right? You do? You used to. Yeah. I think whether it's exercise or anything, we can always shift the I hate to something else. I dislike it. I'm not comfortable with it. But specifically with exercise, that to me is kind of a crazy notion because really exercise is just movement, right? And how many different ways can you move your body? You got to be able to find some way to move your body in a way that feels joyful for you, that feels loving, that feels good, that feels my favorite word. Thank you. Where have the rest of y'all been? Something that feels delicious. What did you say?
I was going to say,
That's right, that's right. So I don't mind exercise, but there was a time when I didn't. In fact, I remember when I started the track team in high school, to be honest, the only reason I did it was because the way that the honor roll worked at my school, you couldn't have all Bs. You had to have a certain, sorry, you couldn't just have a certain GPA. You had to have, every grade had to be a B plus or above. And I kept getting Cs in PE because I didn't like sports, right? And so I would have like A's and A minuses and a C, and I'd be like, I can't get on honor roll, this is ridiculous. And I was so competitive, and I wasn't, you know, having my growth mindset yet. And my best friend was like, well, if you do track, it's pass-fail. And I was all, well, what do I have to do to pass? And she says, well, show up or whatever. So at that time, everybody was like, Ebeth's running track? What? You know, so there was definitely a time when I did not enjoy exercise. I was not trying to run nowhere and sweat and any of that. But that has changed. It turned out, A, that I liked running, and I was actually pretty good at it, so it was fun. And that kind of changed everything for me. So I found some movement that I really enjoyed, and I stuck with it for a long time. And now movement is just part of what I do in my life every day. So we can all shift our mindset about that. I just was talking, and I went through all my notes. I could just turn all these pages. Oh, so I was curious if anyone has a fixed mindset right now that they wanted to workshop or share. Yes?
Fixed mindset. So I've been studying how important it is to have a set schedule for your entire life. Not just for your business life, but also for your personal life as well. And it's really been helping me essentially to have more productive day. So in the morning, I have a schedule to get things done in the morning as far as washing clothes, what time I do that. I wake up a certain time, and before I go to bed, I read a book.
Okay.
Spend 1 hour reading a book right before I go to sleep because it relaxes your mind when you kind of read. But just having a set schedule every day really helps you be more productive. So,
Yeah, well, it doesn't feel like it needs to be workshopped. I mean, that feels awesome.
yes.
You know, if that works for you, having a schedule like that that's really regimented, I think it makes people a lot more productive when they have schedules like that. And discipline,
if I'm
yeah.
missing anything, I feel like I just killed somebody.
Okay, we could workshop that. Fixed mindset. Wait, let's grow that. All of us can live happily together. No, just kidding.
What we could workshop
Yes.
is I see so much value in schedules and want to be more, want to be able to like schedule my day out better, but I very much come from the mindset of like I'm just more spontaneous and not as like
Yes.
regimented, and I like can't stick to a schedule. And,
Right. Right.
but
That's a
like,
good
that's
one.
something that I would like to love to aspire to.
Yes, that's a great one. Because that's a great example of how we hold these stories about who we are, and we hold on to them so tightly. Like, well, I'm just lazy, or I'm just spontaneous. That's who I am. So I just can't I can't do a schedule. That's just not in my makeup. Very much so a fixed mindset. So a great way to maybe reframe that is, I love to be spontaneous, and I can also create structure when I need or want. How does that feel? You try it on. Is it like, And the thing I like about it too is it allows space for your identity, but it also allows space for you to grow into something else. And the next step of that though, once, of course, speaking it, I think is the first step, but then the next step is, okay, so how do I make this manifest now? So I'm gonna create a schedule for the next 2 hours. Something small, take a small bite, and do what's in the schedule, and then be like, that was cool, I just did that. I rock, right?
30 minutes exact.
What's that?
Is it 30 minutes at a time?
30 minutes at a time, yeah, absolutely, that's beautiful. Any others before we move on?
Okay, so I don't know exactly where this will fit. But,
Okay.
I started this thing where I just tell myself, no expectations, no disappointments, and that's why I don't create a schedule anymore. Because like in my field of work, I'm either going to like casting calls, going to fashion shows to be in it, or like going to support people. But then there's been times where I would end up at places where I'm supposed to be, and it doesn't end up going that way. And the fact that I was expecting it to go great, I end up disappointed. So now I just like go with the flow. But I don't know if that's necessarily like a fix or growth.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that fits exactly either, but I do have some thoughts about it. I think going with the flow is great. I don't think that means we can't have expectations for ourselves or for the day, or that we can't have structure. I think there can be a nice balance between creating expectations and structure, and also allowing energy and sort of spirit and flow to move through that. You know, you can say, okay, this is my intention for the day, but then when the phone rings and, well, of course, if every time the phone rings your friend is like, oh, hey girl, let's go get some coffee, and you're like, bye, you know, that's not the most productive thing. But I mean, allowing for productive redirections and flow in your schedule, I think that can happen. But you can also say, oh, this flow just came, I can also move this flow over a little bit. Or I can choose to flow for 20 minutes and then get back to my schedule. How's that feel? All right. All right, so now I want to talk, oh, thank you all for sharing, first of all. But I do want to talk about movement. So engaging in movement is so important for us as entrepreneurs. It does a lot, not only for our bodies, but for our brains. Are you aware that movement impacts your brain as well as your body? I know a lot of us move because we want to lose weight, or we want to be fly in our dress, or we want to be strong, or whatever. But it's also really important for our brains and other things. So we know that exercise helps us to achieve and maintain a healthy weight, to get stronger, to prevent osteoporosis, to lower blood pressure, re-energize us in the middle of the day. These are all great benefits. But there's also benefits to your brain. And I want to share some with you. Exercise improves your memory and your cognitive function, which is really important for an entrepreneur because we have laundry lists of things to do all the time. And it's great if we can remember them. And if we can attack, I don't want to say attack them, if we can move through them.
Can you repeat that? You said exercise.
Exercise improves memory and cognitive function.
Why is that? Do you know why?
A few reasons. One has to do with blood flow to the brain. One has, and actually I'm going to get to a couple of the others in a minute, so you'll get that answer. Exercise increases the amount of blood flow and oxygen to the brain. I just said that. It increases serotonin. Are you all familiar with serotonin? It's the feel-good hormone. So, and when you exercise, you actually feel a lot better afterwards, and that lasts for quite a lot of hours. When you exercise, your brain also gets flooded with dopamine, and that's a neurotransmitter related to motivation. So a lot of people who have low dopamine levels, they just can't like get up and go. They can't motivate, or they can't finish a task. But exercise helps to raise those levels in your brain so you feel more motivated to do things and to complete tasks. What? You're like, yes! I'm working out right now. Movement also acts as a kind of first aid kit to your brain. If there's any damage to any of the cells in your brain, movement helps to restore those. So that's part of the reason why you hear, people have strokes. They're really encouraged to do a lot of movement. It's not just for their body, but it's also for the brain because it's helping to heal that. Exercising in the morning in particular, I do recommend if you can get up in the morning to do it, do that. It spikes your brain activity, and it prepares you for any stresses of the day because of all the reasons I just mentioned. And it also increases your brain's ability to grow new connections, which is great because it means that your brain can work in more and different ways. So we're all aware that there's all these benefits of exercise, right? We all know this, but we don't always actually get up and exercise, right? So I'm sure you can imagine this. Your alarm goes off in the morning, you're planning to work out, and you don't get out of bed. Who's that happened to? Yeah. Or you get off of work, or you finish your day at your entrepreneurial endeavors, and you're like, I'm going to the gym, and then you end up someplace else, not the gym. So the question is, how do you move from this kind of intellectual understanding of the benefits of movement to actually doing it? Any guesses? We've talked about some of them. Just be like Nike. Just do it. Boom. I can't wake up early. I love it. Brownie points for that one. That was good. So that's exactly right. You know, we need to change our perspective about exercise, right? We have to shift from this idea that exercise is drudgery, it's boring, I don't want to sweat, I can't do it. We have to change that. We have to realize, I'm doing this for me. This exercise is for my brain, my body, my business, my life, my future, my now, my everything. This is an act of self-love. So why would I not do this for myself? So when you shift to thinking of exercise in that way, it makes it so much easier to get up out of bed. If you're like, oh, I have to get up and exercise, and instead you say, oh, I get to go show myself some love at the gym or wherever you're going, right? That's so much more exciting, right? Than, oh, I hate exercise. I said that. And the second thing, too, you can tap into is membership, right? There's lots of ways that you can exercise with friends. You can have a buddy. You can have a group that you exercise with. You can call somebody. You can post your sweaty selfie. I'm notorious. People who know me, and once you guys look at my Instagram feed, you'll see me in my rollers, sweaty, talking about I got my sweat. Yes. So, you know, there's lots of ways to be accountable and to connect to that membership. I think everyone should move their body every day. Now, the level of intensity is another thing. So daily movement, like taking a walk, taking the stairs rather than the elevator, getting up in the middle of the day while you're sitting at your desk. By the way, sitting at your desk for extended periods is the new smoking, meaning it's just as harmful for your body as smoking. Really? You're like, what?
What about actually being in the gym? How often should
I think intense, so what the studies are showing is about 20 to 30 minutes of relatively intense cardio really support your brain health, can help with weight maintenance, is enough to get those dopamine and serotonin up in your brain as well. So you don't have to be at the gym for hours and hours in order to get those benefits. Now, if you have other goals, you know, I want to have a six-pack or whatever, you know, you may need to be in the gym a little bit longer. I don't know. But as far as the benefits to your brain and your sort of general health, you can get that easily. A brisk walk, 30 minutes. I personally don't even go to the gym. You can't tell because I look so good. But what I do, I work out at home. I do this thing called Beachbody. Anybody heard of it? Yes. Yeah, I love Beachbody. So a lot of my workouts are an hour or less. Today, for example, I was, you know, busy. So I just did a 20-minute workout. And you'll see from the photo, I was still sweating. So, yeah, it depends, if that answers your question. He's going to write that down. It depends.
That's exactly what I put.
Did you really? Well, I did give you some clear answers. 20 to 30 minutes for your brain and your cardiovascular health, and then everything else is gravy.
One more question, I'm sorry.
No, please ask.
How early do you think a person should wake up? If you're an entrepreneur, what time should you wake up?
Well, it depends. And it's interesting because I was just doing a little more study on circadian rhythms. And I don't know if you're familiar with this idea, but it's kind of circadian rhythm is your sort of natural biological clock and where you feel you have the most energy throughout the day. So some people like myself, if you want to know when I get up, I tend to get up between 5 and 4 most mornings because that's just, but that's just me. I'm not saying that that's for everyone, you know? Well, I try to be asleep by like 9. I'd rather be asleep by 8 or 8:30, but my son is often not quite asleep then.
It's like it's just like a long work day, like tonight, you have a job and you see the home. If you go to bed at 11, do you still wake up at 5, or how does that work?
I try. Yeah, I mean, my workout's a bit sloppy. But I try to get it in anyway. But I might be like, okay, I'm doing it. This is my best in this moment. And that's just how I gotta go with it. So I think right, yeah. So some people have different.
Depends on what your body is.
Right. That's what I was trying to say. That's not my suggestion for you. My suggestion for you is that you could start to sort of tune into the times of day when you feel most energized, where you feel more tired, when you feel like you want to work out, and just start to kind of map that out for yourself, maybe in a journal. You can add that to your list of things to do. And as you start to see the pattern, then you can kind of schedule your life, not just your exercise, but everything that you're doing around those peak times for you. Yeah, and some people need a nap midday. I can't nap. I wake up, I'm more cranky. You know, I can't do that. I can't work. I mean, I can work, but I'm not as productive if I work at, 10 o'clock. I used to work in restaurants, and I'd be working at midnight talking about, what you want? It's past my bedtime, okay? So, that's just me. So you have to kind of figure out what works for you. Are there questions about that? Or yes, you keep saying that.
How often do you think a person should eat a day? How often? Because I eat only once a day.
More than that.
I'm talking like as far as a physical meal, like I'll snack.
Yeah.
Like as a potato steak type of meal.
Oh, well, the first thing I would say is not potatoes and steak. Together. But we'll talk more about that in a second. Once we get to the meals part, I'll answer more of those questions.
Okay.
But I'll start with how many times should you eat? I think minimum people should eat about 3 times a day. I really love 3 regular meals and 2 snacks. And my intention there is not, a lot of people suggest that because they're trying to say, oh, you're going to increase your metabolism, you're going to lose weight, and you're going to, and that's kind of true. But that's not why I'm saying that. The reason why I suggest that is to keep your blood sugar levels even and to help reduce craving and binge eating later in the evening for people who struggle with that. And to keep giving yourself, it would be like, no, it's not a good example. Think of it as the need to provide nourishment for your brain and your body throughout the day. If you only eat once, your digestive system is going to digest that, assimilate the nutrients, disseminate those into your body. They'll get used, and then what? Eventually they get used up and they need more, right? So we want to continue to fuel our body in mindful ways throughout the day. So I would say 3 meals and 2 snacks. The key is that the snacks are really like for real snacks. Snack is not half a hamburger. That's like a meal. A snack is, well, I have lots of different snacks. Like this little kale salad in a bag, that would be a snack. You got quality fat, you've got protein, you've got fiber, you've got carbohydrates. It's good. Nuts are a good snack, yeah. Some of my favorite snack combinations, briefly, I would say like apple slices and peanut butter, cucumber and hummus, peppers. Oh, I like to make little turkey or ham wraps. So where the turkey or ham is basically the bread, and then a slice of avocado, and then a bell pepper, and you roll that up. I didn't say no cheese. I didn't say cheese. Those of you who know me know I did not say cheese. I said pepper and avocado, which is so cheese-like, and peppers. Yeah. So, okay, we're going to talk about food in a minute. I know you're chomping at the bit for food. We're getting there. Yes.
I had invited some people to come, but somebody has to go downstairs to get them. Will I be able to? Because I'm a visitor?
I don't see why not. I think
They told them that somebody has to come downstairs to get them.
Oh, that security guard, yeah. Well, you can go, I guess. Are you saying you want me to wait, or?
Alan, you might need to go.
Should I go? Okay. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oh, man, we're just going to start. You better hurry up. Let me see. I know, right? I talked a little bit out of turn, but I did talk about having mini breaks during the day, right? That's super important. So not only do you want to do your kind of rigorous cardiovascular workout, weight training is great too for bone density and strength and looking fit and feeling good. It's less impactful, it appears so far from the research. They're still working on that, but so far cardio is the more beneficial for the brain. But again, they haven't really finished the studies. But it's still helpful even beyond that to really make sure that you move your body throughout the day. so that you can re-energize, refocus, get those kind of kinks out of your body. In fact, you could stand up and do a little stretch right now. They're looking at me like, no. That's okay. She's stretching. My girl. She's always got my back over there. I love it. So it helps to refocus your mind. It helps amp up your energy. It realigns your spine. Oh, you guys are so great. I love it. Participation rocks. I love it. It also helps to reduce your stress. So you can, and I actually encourage you to schedule that into your day. So we talk about scheduling stuff, and we're going to talk more about it. But I do encourage you to actually schedule your workout, your movement, whether it's your 30-minute or your stretch break. Because if you don't put it in your calendar, you're not going to do it, right? You're more likely going to forget and just be sitting hunched over at your desk all day. But if you put it in your phone, put a reminder, have an alarm go off, every couple hours or so, to just get up, take a walk, breathe, it's a great practice to get into. And I talked about that too. No, we already did that. All right. Oh, I hate to start the meals part without them. Don't y'all have some questions to entertain before he returns? The rest of them return. No? He's going to be like, what did you say? I'm going to say, I already said it. All right, well. Food?
Well, it's not just food.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess so. Thank you. Oh, yeah. So much delicious. How did I get into this? I guess, well, there's a lot. I guess my story starts when, well, there's a couple things. One is I always was interested in food my whole life. I was a 5-year-old kid. I didn't care about watching the Smurfs on the weekend. I was literally like 5 years old watching Pierre Fernet, Julia Child, Yen Ken Cook. And my mom would be like, don't you want to watch cartoons? I was like, no, he was just about to cut that, whatever. And I was just inspired and amazed at how, raw individual ingredients could turn into these beautiful, flavorful meals. I was like, what? That is amazing. And I wanted to do that. And then I got an Easy Bake Oven. And I was like, this is cool, but it doesn't seem quite like what I saw on TV. This isn't really working. And then in addition to that, I was an overweight kid. My mom is and was a really great cook, but it was like cheese with an egg, cream with a strawberry, and a lot of sugar. This was strawberries and cream. It'd literally be like one strawberry cut up really small and a whole pool of cream with a ton of sugar in it with some Kool-Aid. Tasted great. She was a good cook. So I was an overweight kid. I went to the doctor one day, and he pretty literally said, if you keep gaining weight at this rate that you have been, you are going to be an obese adult. You're going to die early, and you're going to be unhealthy. And I was like, I kind of looked at my mom like, what? I think he was trying to really talk to my mom, but obviously I was sitting there, and I was like, what do you mean I'm going to die? That's horrible. I was about 9. And so, he sends us home with this information, but without a game plan, So my mom and I were expected to kind of figure it out. How do I lose this weight? How do we change how we eat? How do we think differently about food? How do we move? And frankly, we didn't even know to ask those questions. We just knew we were supposed to fix it. So I did lots of really crazy things that I don't always tell. And now I just realize I'm on social live. But anyway, I'll tell you anyhow. But a couple of crazy things I did was, I'll tell you one crazy thing I did, which I was trying to not eat as much as I wanted to eat. And my mom used to make greens with ham hocks. We're like a southern black family, so greens and ham hocks. And they have like a bone in the middle, right? So I would eat all the meat and fat off of the bone, and then I would freeze the bone. And when I would get hungry, I would take it out of the freezer, and I would put salt on it, and I would chew on it. This is not a healthy way to lose weight. I always tell people there's a lot of things you can do to lose weight, and a whole lot of them are not healthy for you, right? So basically, I had to learn for myself over the next decade and change how to lose the weight, how to change my relationship with food, how to get moving, and how to cook food that was tasty to me, but also good to me, for me. So I've kind of just been doing that my whole life since then, really. I was doing pretty well, and then college, I gained like the college freshman, thank you. Yeah, but it wasn't no 15, it was like 30 pounds in a year. I came home, my godmother was like, "You look great." And I was all, "I can't fit in any of my clothes." So I had to kind of relearn it again. And then I managed restaurants a long time, and then I wanted to learn more about cooking, and I said, you know what, I don't want to go to the type of culinary school that's going to teach me the food that made me fat in the first place. All the butter, all the oil, all the meat, all the whatever. So I chose a school specifically that combines traditional Japanese and French culinary techniques, but with a focus on food as medicine. So anyway, it's just been like a lifelong study, basically. And now I've told the world about my ham hock story. Thank you very much.
We all have at least one.
I know, right? A lot of us do. So I've put my story out, no shame, no guilt, no nothing. Practicing what I preach.
What did Julia Child say? Never explain.
Never explain, never apologize. That's right. Oh, dear. The chicken fell. Nobody has to know. Never apologize. Yeah. All right. Answer your question. Hi, welcome. So you're back. Where's your...
Alex stayed downstairs, but those are the 3 guys that were coming up. So
Oh, okay, sweet.
you stay down.
Okay. I'm not waiting no more if he decided to stay. Okay, so here's the question. Why do meals and food matter to the entrepreneur? Nobody talks about it. Nobody says, oh, you're about to be an entrepreneur. You better eat right. You better figure out a meal plan. No, they say, you have your business plan? Do you have your marketing plan? Do you have a logo? Do you have a logo? Do you have a blog? Do you have a website? Nobody says, do you have a meal plan? Do you have a plan for exercise? Do you have a plan for self-care? Nobody says this, right? So why does food matter as an entrepreneur? There's a lot of reasons. So I'm going to start with a little bit woo-woo one, because you guys can tell already I like the woo-woo. But it's woo-woo, but it's real. Okay, food is the energy behind everything you want to do in your life. Food. Literally the calories, more figuratively the energy, the fuel behind everything you want to do in your life. Whatever business you're in, whether it's motherhood, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's sitting here in this class right now, food is the fuel behind that. So keep that in mind every time you eat. It's also the vehicle that's going to either bring you closer to health and wellness or closer to illness. It's a little bit, could be perceived as a kind of morbid idea, but I actually think of it as a really empowering idea. Because what that means is we can, every time we lift our fork, our spoon, every time we go shopping, every time we cook and eat, we can literally make ourselves healthier. We can make us live longer. We can feel more energized just by eating beautiful, delicious food, right? So that is the kind of woo-woo behind why food matters. And then it's even more than that. We usually think about food and we think about macros, and everybody's talking about macros now, and nutrients and calories and fat. You know, that's what we think about when we think about what food is. But food is also literally information for your cells. Food gives your cells information and tells them what to do. So whether they multiply in cancer cells, whether they don't, whether you had developed diabetes, whether you don't, whether your skin is clear or it isn't, food is giving your cells that information, literally information, so that it knows what to do. That's really a powerful thing. And as an entrepreneur, we have big dreams. We have big goals. We have lots to do in life. We don't want to be sick. We want to turn ourselves on to health. We want to have energy. We want to be clear-headed. We want to live a long time. We don't want to have sick days, right? Right? They were like, you're so serious now. Okay. But food also, it impacts our emotions, it impacts our brain and our clarity of thought. And okay, these are some things I really, really, really want to talk to you about. And it has to do with your gut. I feel like I'm missing a page. That's okay. So, the other reason why meals matter so much is because what you eat impacts your gut. And when you think about entrepreneurship or business, no one ever talks to you about your gut, right? Has anybody said that to you? Oh, you're an entrepreneur. You need to care about your gut. So probably be the first time you ever heard that in your life, and maybe the last, unless you continue chatting with me after this class. But it's true, and it really does matter. So a couple of fun facts. I want to tell you some cool things about your gut and why it matters for your entrepreneurial journey. So the main reason is because your gut is actually directly linked to your brain. Did you know that? Okay, here's some wild stuff. We're going to take it back to when you're an embryo. I'm sure you all remember it. When you were an embryo, right, you have all these cells dividing. You have these cells here. They divide. One goes up to your brain and starts multiplying to become your brain. The other goes down to develop your gut. Now, when two cells start in the same place and multiply and separate, they always have a kind of memory or communication with one another. So your gut and your brain are literally connected from the time you're developing as a baby. I mean, your mind is blown, okay? There's also, even beyond that, a direct communication that happens bidirectionally, so from your brain to your gut and from your gut to your brain, through something called the vagus nerve. Anybody heard of it? Connects. So whatever's going on in your gut impacts and is communicated to your brain, and vice versa. And this communication that happens is more complex than any of the complex electrical communication systems that we know of and have created as humans. Think about, I mean, we can get people to the moon, okay? This communication right here in your body happening right now is more complex than any of that. We can't even, at this point, fathom. We don't even fully understand all that's going on. Now, this is also going to blow your mind. Okay, when you think about how much your brain talks to your body, is it like a little or a lot? A lot. Like I'm blinking right now, my brain just did that. I'm moving, my heart's beating, you know, all the stuff my brain is doing it. Now this is, you're ready for this like mind-blowing thing? There are 400 times more communication coming from your gut to your brain than from your brain to the rest of your body. 400 times more communication from your gut to your brain than from your brain to the rest of your body. Like my gut is talking to my brain right now. And it's saying, yes, that's right. That's just crazy. It's amazing. And also the connection between your gut and your brain is also chemical. So earlier we talked about dopamine and serotonin, right? Those are known as neurotransmitters. Neuro means what? What part of the body is that talking about? The brain. It's kind of backwards that we say that. Do you want to know that about 90% of your serotonin is produced not in your brain, in your gut? And then it travels up to your brain through those pathways. 90% is coming from your gut, not your brain. What? Now, what else happens in your gut? This you should know. It's not a trick question. Digestion and stuff. So when you eat, you're impacting your gut. 400 times more communication is going from your gut to your brain than from your brain to your body. So what happens when you damage your gut? You damage your brain. And then your bottom line. Because when you can't think, you can't be an entrepreneur, right? So I just want to be clear, too, about this 400 times communication from your gut. You've probably heard, it's been in the news a lot in the last few years. Have you heard of something called the microbiome? They're all like, no. Okay, wasn't expecting that. All right, so that's okay, I can explain it. The microbiome is basically, you've heard of an ecosystem, right? So an ecosystem is just a community of lots of different, in this case, what's the word I'm looking for? Microorganisms that live, bacteria that live in your gut, okay? There's like billions of them, literally. We haven't figured out how many exactly. But you're basically more bacteria in your gut than you are cells in the rest of your body. There's literally more of them. Mind-blowing. So there's this microbiome happening in your gut, this community of different bacteria that live there, and they do different things, and they thrive on different types of food. So there's some, for example, that really thrive on sugar. And so the more sugar you eat, the more those populate because they're being well fed, right? They're like, great, I got plenty of sugar, I'll take up all the real estate, and then this ecosystem becomes out of balance. It's like overfishing, except the opposite. And then those bacteria, they send messages to your brain when they're hungry. They say, hey, I'm hungry, I need some more sugar. Where's that sugar? I need it. What does that sound like? Cravings, right? So when you shift and get your gut bacteria out of balance, you can have cravings that you wouldn't normally have. You can have illnesses you wouldn't normally have. You can have communication going to your brain that you wouldn't. The other thing that happens is inflammation. When we eat too much sugar, or we eat too much meat, or too much acidic foods, or not enough vegetables, we cause inflammation in the gut. And that also causes inflammation in the brain. And when your brain is inflamed, you cannot think. It's also been shown that this imbalance in the gut is related to things like Alzheimer's and dementia, diabetes. So literally, when you're damaging your gut, you are literally damaging your brain. Literally. So, as entrepreneurs, we need our brains. We need them to work so that we can make manifest our amazing dreams, right? So that means we have to care about what we eat. We can't just eat whatever, because we can't manifest our dreams like that. You might be able to do it for a while, but you probably get sick eventually. And also, you may not. One thing that I notice people experience too as they shift their diet and their mindset and their movement is they didn't know that their baseline was not their best. Imagine if how you feel right now is like 1/100th of how good you could actually feel. What if you could feel even more energized, even more clear-headed, even more connected to creative flow? I mean, and just because you eat some kale with avocado instead of a donut? I mean, isn't it worth it? It's not to say you can never have a donut. I have a donut every now and then, but you get my point. So, now do you, whoa, you didn't see that. So now do you understand somewhat why you have to care about food as an entrepreneur, or just as a person in general? So then the question is, okay, I have this intellectual understanding. I know that I need to care about what I'm eating, but now what? Like, how do I do that? So the first thing is we have to shift our mindset. We have to say, look, food matters. So I, as an entrepreneur, I'm going to include food in my business plan. What's my plan for today? Part of my plan is going shopping. Part of my plan is meal prep. So many entrepreneurs don't eat lunch. They don't eat snacks. They eat breakfast, or they eat one meal a day, and that's it. Because, oh, I got so busy, I forgot. That never happens to me. I'm always thinking about food. But happens to a lot of people. So we have to plan it. You have to put it in your calendar. Because like we were saying before, anything that's important to you, you schedule it. Right? You schedule those business meetings, those doctor's appointments. You have to schedule those appointments with yourself, too, to go shopping, to prep for food, and for people who forget to actually eat. I am having lunch at this time. I am not having a meeting. I'm having lunch. I'm having a snack. I'm moving my body after that. Schedule it. Make time for it. Yeah. Of course. Good question. So first I would say let's work on that mindset, because first I see that as a fixed idea. I don't have money to eat well. Well, let's shift that around. My funds are limited. I have to be mindful about where I spend my food dollars, but I find meals and foods that fit in my budget. You don't have to eat everything organic, if that's the concern. Vegetables and fruits are relatively inexpensive compared to like meat or going out to eat, right? So there are lots of ways to affordably fuel your body well. Just like, I know people who are like, I ain't got no money for this. I'm like, how did you get that Coach bag? I don't have no Coach bag. Well, I do, but it was given to me by somebody. But the point is, people find ways. Again, it's a matter of priority. Where do my dollars go? I have a friend, she didn't have money for her car, but because she had to go get her hair. I was like, how much money do you budget for hair? She's oh, you know, like, I don't know, it was like all her money because that was important to her, right? So you have to shift your priorities around so that your time and money reflect your choices and your intentions and your desires. So it's totally possible, and we can talk more about affordable meals at another time. You can email me or something. But the point is, it's totally possible. It doesn't have to be expensive to eat healthily.
I was just going to say that salary made very expensive.
True that. Yeah, the whole big bag of kale was $2 and some change, and it was even organic.
Right. But eat healthy is expensive.
No. No. It can be. It can be expensive. You can go to the whole paycheck and spend a whole lot of money. I know. I used to work there and I shopped there. That's fine. But that is not the only way. And any way you slice it, eating out is going to be more expensive. Always. Eating out. Not eating healthy. No. It is true that our sort of government subsidies, et cetera, are set up to make certain commodities more expensive, and they're oftentimes really, really, really crappy food is the least expensive. That is true, I will admit that. But that does not mean that eating healthy is expensive. It may not be as inexpensive. And also, this is key too, because we have to think about the full cost, right? Because there's more than the monetary cost. So I often say to people, do you want to spend money on food now, or do you want to spend money on pills later? Do you want to spend money on beautiful kale salad, or do you want to spend money at the hospital? Right? So you have to think about all the expenses. What does it cost you to eat badly? What does it cost you? Your energy, your skin, your flow, your business, how you feel? Is that worth it? Is that worth a few extra dollars? If it is a few extra dollars even. But there are lots of healthy ways to eat inexpensively. Most of it has to do with budget and mindfulness and mindful choices. But I guarantee you, I mean, I used to teach this class at the Whole Foods, even at the Whole Foods. And we all know everybody calls Whole Foods a whole paycheck. I know it. Everybody told me that when I worked there. But even at the Whole Foods, you can buy $100 worth of food and eat for 2 weeks. You want to say something? Sure.
About what you said, 'cause that's really important. When I was in college, there was a lot of, like, you know, the whole thing about, you know, poverty and being able to have, like, food deserts, but sometimes it really depends on planning. So even if you might not have the money to be able to have a whole healthy meal, you can start small with something, and then you can develop that way. So at least you're still getting something healthy. It doesn't all have to be
True.
a whole healthy thing, but it puts you in the mindset of, okay, I can start with this, maybe in the morning or in
Yes.
the evening, and then you can progress from there once you start
agree.
getting into the lifestyle.
Yeah, I love that. It's beautiful. I mean, and even one of my friends, you know, she will spend, I don't know, it was like $1 something for a honey bun. I said, you could have got a banana for 50 cents. Okay. And you know the banana, I don't know if you know, bananas are pretty filling. I feel like that's on a TV show. I feel like that's a line from a show. Bananas are, it feels like very Seinfeldian. Bananas are very filling. But anyway, hopefully we can talk more about it. Hopefully that helps some. So yeah, we have to plan it. We have to shift our mindsets about it, whether it's about money, whether it's about we have time, whether it's healthy food doesn't taste good. You've all experienced now. You've even become converted to a kale liker, right? Healthy food can and does taste good. I always think it's a strange mindset, this idea that healthy food doesn't taste good. Why would the universe make it so disgusting to eat well? No. And I always give people the example, too, you know, it's not that healthy food tastes bad. It may just be that what you ate didn't taste that great. And I always give the example, I have an aunt who makes fried chicken. Fried chicken, everybody likes fried chicken, pretty much, if you're not a vegan or something. But if my aunt's fried chicken was the first fried chicken I ever ate, I might not be that keen on fried chicken, because it wasn't that good. Now, my mama's fried chicken is banging. You're like, oh my God, fried chicken is amazing. They're both fried chicken. You can't just say, well, chicken's bad. No, this person makes bad chicken and that person makes good chicken. right? So I always tell people, keep trying it. You never know when you might like it. I didn't like okra for like 35 years. I was like, Why did I not like it? I didn't like the slime factor. And, I took my own advice, and I kept trying it, and I finally had okra Indian style. That changed my life, y'all. Now I'm like, okra, I love you. Just put a little cumin on it, a little ginger. Oh, you guys got to try my okra, y'all. It's good. But anywho, so point is, shift your mindset, change your thoughts, prioritize it, schedule it. Okay, now I want to quickly go through what you should actually be doing. So I have my sort of lucky 7 mindful eating principles that I want to share with you. So how many of you eat breakfast? He's like, that's the only meal I eat. Sometimes, up and down.
What do you consider breakfast? Is it heavy meal or like yogurt? Is that considered breakfast?
Breakfast is, yes. Oh, my girl. I didn't pay her, but that was good. You can. So what I consider, yes, you can. Yes. Preach. Yes. Yes. So, yes, and it doesn't even have to be fruit salad, by the way. So that's not actually what I meant, though. So first of all, show of hands one more time. How many people consistently eat breakfast? Very few. Okay. So what I mean by breakfast, to answer your question, is the meal that you eat in the morning after you get up. So first thing, who has a glass of water first thing in the morning? Okay. That's not really what I meant to talk about right now, but I do want to remind you, first thing in the morning, gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this day. I'm alive. I can build my business. I can better my life. I can deepen into my higher self. Amen. Thank you. First, then water. I'm going to make a shirt that says, but first water. You can pre-order right now. Just give me the money. So first, then water, and then breakfast. You've probably heard since you were a kid that like breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I still believe that's 100% true for several reasons. One is it sets the tone for the rest of the day, for your cravings, and for your intentions. I think your breakfast is in itself an intention. When you say, okay, I'm going to eat vegetables, I'm going to eat something healthy first thing in the day, it's kind of hard to snowball down from that. You started your day off right, you know? If you start your day off with like, I don't know, pancake, like syrup with pancakes and 3 strips of bacon or something, it's real easy to go from that to, a hamburger and some cookies and then some pasta. I mean, it's easy because that's where you were. So start your day with an intention by having a healthy breakfast. So healthy breakfast means, this is what I suggest people eat, not the literal thing, but the kind of makeup of breakfast. You do need protein in the morning. I'm not a protein pusher. I'm not one of those people. But protein is really good for you in the morning. It's good for your brain. It's good for your energy. It helps you stay fuller longer. It doesn't have to be an animal-based protein if you're a vegetarian. It could be beans. It could be greens. It could be tofu. It could be whatever, fish. So a little protein. I love, and this is a little novel idea for a lot of people, vegetables. I'm going to challenge you to have vegetables for breakfast. I have vegetables for breakfast almost every day. Y'all became my Instagram friends. You can look at my breakfast meals. I post them. There's greens, there's asparagus, there's string beans, there's mushrooms, there's bok choy, mostly green leafies. That's my favorite. So I encourage you to have half a plate of vegetables in the morning, a little bit of protein, and also a quality carbohydrate. Of course, vegetables are carbohydrates, but I mean something more like sweet potato, butternut squash, sprouted grain bread, whole grain oats, something like that. Sorry? Rice counts as an okay carbohydrate. I'm going to talk more about it in a minute. Inflammation! But anyway, what's that? I know. I knew you were going to say that. You don't have to have rice. Oh, yeah, baby. Okay, so eat a healthy breakfast. That's the one shift I want you to make, and that healthy breakfast I wanted to include some kind of vegetable. Okay, the second one is enjoy sugar sparingly. I tried to make it sound delicious by saying enjoy in front, but I'm basically saying don't eat sugar. So first thing to know, there is 0, 0, 0 health benefit to sugar, 0. There's not one single thing that sugar does for your body that's positive. Nothing. And not only that, it's detrimental. It is more addictive than cocaine. Literally. More addictive than cocaine. That's why the food industry puts it in everything. And you have to read labels. Because we're talking about, when I talk about sugar, I don't just mean the sugar you add to things. Sometimes it's that. Sometimes we need to literally put less teaspoons of sugar in our coffee or tea or cereal or oatmeal or whatever. But sometimes it's the hidden sugar and stuff that we're not even aware of. You know, it always boggles my mind when I buy like a store-bought chicken stock or vegetable stock. Why is there sugar in the vegetable stock? It doesn't even taste sweet. Why is it there? You know, what is that? Sugar and crackers and bread, things that you're not necessarily thinking of, yogurt and things in boxes and cans mostly, right? So be mindful to read the labels. Be mindful of how much you actually put in yourself. And also think about, and this is a little bit more difficult to do unless you have a lot of information, but being mindful of the glycemic index of what you're eating. Because it's not just the amount of sugar, but how does the sugar impact your blood sugar levels? Which I know starts to get a little complex, but I want to try to make it really simple for you. Basically, food in its whole form is always going to be lower glycemic than a processed food. So for example, apples are going to be a lower glycemic than applesauce. Even if the applesauce is just ground up apples, just the fact that you've broken down the fiber to the point where it's a sauce changes the speed at which the sugars go into your bloodstream and raise your blood sugar levels and require insulin to come. So the apple is better because your body has to actually break down that fiber, so it slows down the absorption of the sugar. You don't get the sugar high and spike. You don't get the same burst of insulin. So in general, anything whole is going to be better. And that counts too for things like wheat, bread. Even when it says whole grain bread, first of all, the regulation for whole grain is like only maybe 30% of the product has to be actually whole grain. And a lot of times what that means too is, well, I used part of the grain, but then I added some bran back into it. And so now together it's kind of whole, so I can call it whole grain. What? So yeah, all that is to say, the actual grain, not a box of something that says made from whole grains, but the actual grain. Like I'd rather you ate wheat berries than bread. Does that make sense? So anything whole is going to be lower on the glycemic index automatically. The other thing about sugar, I'm going to recommend a couple sugars for you. Of course, we all like to have sweet things. There's a sweet thing over there you just ate, right? But it's sweetened mostly with butternut squash. That was a secret ingredient. Yeah, so it's roasted so that the sugars are even more rich. Did you have a muffin? Did you love it?
I'm not really into muffins, but it's definitely in my top muffin experience.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Good answer. So what is my point? My point is, what kind of sugars should you use? So honey is my number one. If you're going to add sugar to something, choose local if you can, raw if you can. But just honey is always going to be a better choice. Coconut palm sugar. Now, some of these sugar alternatives and stuff, they are expensive. I'll be real about that. But you don't have to add the sugar. Thank you.
All about your mindset.
Thank you.
That's the only reason I got my sugar.
Ah.
Started thinking, I don't like sugar.
I like that fixed mindset. I don't like sugar. Oh, okay. What time is it? 8? Oh, okay. So sugars I recommend. Honey, blackstrap molasses, coconut palm sugar, very low glycemic. Grade B maple syrup, not super low glycemic, but more nutrient dense than regular maple syrup. Date sugar, I love it. It's literally dehydrated dates ground up. Can't get much, I mean, it's ground up, but still. Whole stevia leaf, literally. The leaf. Nobody is going to do that probably, unless you have a garden. But stevia leaf, you see it, what do they call it, sweet leaf or something? It's like a little green packet with the white powder in it. Yeah, but it's not good like that. Because you know what that's like? If you have kale and you were to turn it into a powder, what color would you expect it to be? Green. Stevia is green. Why is this packet white? Bleach. Do you want to eat bleach? Okay, so enough about that. Sugar. Focus on whole foods. A whole food is simply all of its edible parts together. So eat the skin of that roasted sweet potato. Anything that has the skin that's edible, it's not too tough, eat it. If you can eat the skin, the seeds, eat it. If it's in a box and it's ground up and it says it's made from a whole this or that, it ain't whole no more. It's just made from a whole something. So choose the whole something instead. Okay, so I was going to say eat fewer grains in general. Grains are very inflammatory, very damaging to the gut, and we know, and it's damaging to the gut microbiome. In particular, the reason is because of something called lectins, and the lectin we're most familiar with is gluten, and it's very damaging to these little microvilli in your gut. So if you imagine them like these little fingers in your gut, and basically their job is to absorb nutrients from the food that you eat, and also they act as a barrier between poorly digested particles going through your digestive wall into your bloodstream, which causes inflammation as well. But when you eat too much gluten, these little cells, they end up like this. They can't do their job. They can't connect with the nutrients as well, and they leave spaces where all these undigested particles can go through, cause inflammation in your gut, inflammation in your brain, problem. So if you're going to eat grains at all, eat them sparingly. Eat gluten-free grains, and also a type of grain called pseudograin. These are things you've heard of. Quinoa, amaranth, maybe you haven't heard of. Millet, wild rice, you've probably heard of. Buckwheat is another, probably heard of. I can give you a list. Those are all good ideas, good choices. Talk about that. Oh, so is gluten-free better? Is a gluten-free bagel better than a regular bagel? Da-na-na-na. Is a gluten-free bagel better than a bagel with gluten? The same. I like that answer. Say that again? How much money you have in your pocket. Yeah, so both are not that good. But we have this idea that if we're trying to avoid gluten, we should have gluten-free cake, gluten-free bagels, gluten-free bread, gluten-free crackers. Most of them are just starches and gums and fillers made to try to replicate gluten. And none of it's good. If it's naturally gluten-free, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds, great. Read the labels. If it's made from, no. If it's just, oh, this is sesame seeds and almonds and whatever, that's fine. Also, focus on vegetables, y'all. The food guide pyramid says focus on grains. No. No. That's fake news. The whole bottom of your pyramid needs to be vegetables. Low glycemic, colorful, low starch vegetables. That means peppers and mushrooms and kale and bok choy and arugula and asparagus. Not, oh, I eat a ton of potatoes, which is what most